Hey everybody, James here. When I started making videos, I would do clip compilations of Dead by Daylight, but those videos are gone. I've made primarily playthroughs with 2 review videos and 1 meme about Jerma, and I decided I wanted to go back and do another review since I like having planned videos out. I'm going to look at a few criteria throughout the video. Style, but not the graphics, the gameplay, and things like variety, enjoyment, and replayability, as well as level design, sound, music, and the story. And finally, the critic rating versus my rating. And when I say critic, I use that term lightly, as most of the time it'll just be some of the Steam reviews and, like, I don't know, Metagamer or whatever, so don't worry about that too much. The reason for not using actual critics is because the game I'm reviewing has like 8 reviews in total. That game being Kingdom of the Dead. Now, time for the first topic. Style. Assistant, pull up footage.
No.
What do you mean, no?
I mean, no.
But it's my YouTube video.
I don't care.
First off, the style. The game looks to be completely hand-drawn, but there are enough unique textures where it didn't get stale. The game is almost entirely black and white. Enemies will have some glowing eyes, and the pickups will be in a bunch of different colors, but other than that, black and white. The HUD, very basic. Health is displayed as hearts that can be cut into quarters in the bottom left. Ammo and weapons are shown in the bottom right. Honestly, I like the style of the game. It's super simple, and that hand-drawn element just gives me the tingles. 9 out of 10. The reason I rate this so highly is because, personally, I've played only one video game before that was hand-drawn, and that was Cuphead. And, while sure, Cuphead did it better, the game still looks decent enough. The only issue I found is that in some circumstances, I could not see enemies that well. But, to combat this, your crosshair lights up bright red, so it's hard to miss an enemy anyways. For gameplay, it's a shooter. It's an FPS. There's nothing more to say. It has the standard assortment of weapons for a Western-style game. Revolver, shotgun, rifle, chain gun, dynamite, and a sword? Wait, a sword. Yeah, a sword. And the sword has an eye on it. The sword, in my opinion, is the coolest part of your arsenal. Not only is it a sword with an eye on it, but when charged with enough kills, it releases a blast of energy, which I find very cool. Since the gameplay is so focused on shooting, you finally have an excuse to load up your hentai aim trainer before playing. Thank you, developer.
You never have an excuse to load up your hentai aim trainer.
You always have an excuse.
No, you don't.
Agree to disagree. Now for variety. The bosses, while they weren't that great, did have a lot of variety. Worms, bats, deer, snakes, a gorilla, and death itself.
You sure do love that gorilla. Wait, do you think a gorilla overshadows death itself?
Yes. I love the gorilla boss fight, since it introduced a rocket launcher, an old Western firework shooting rocket launcher. As I said earlier, the guns are about as varied as a Western can be. The base enemies are varied enough, though. You have melee grunts, shotgun grunts, rifle grunts, birds, wizards, caco-demon-looking things, guys with Viking helmets, things with cannons for arms, and others that don't really matter that much. Decent variety for a game that was only 4 hours of playtime. For the enjoyment. It's a shooter, with decent movement, a set of Western-style guns and explosives. How could it not be enjoyable? The game is really short, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. My playtime says 4.9 hours, but I really played the game for much less. I enjoyed how much you could chain some weapons together, kind of like, in Doom? Yeah, that's a loose comparison, but you can imagine it. I also enjoyed the melee combat, what little there was. Enemy fighters could sometimes block your melee hits with theirs, but I don't know if that was really on purpose or not, but it was still cool. I would say, since the game is so short, there's nothing that stands out as miserable and worth complaining about. On the topic of replayability, the game offers different difficulties, and even some secondary tasks on those higher difficulties. Not a whole lot to say, really. As far as I could tell, it doesn't change level design on the difficulties, only how hard the enemies are. This game does have a battle mode of sorts, which is fun, but not for very long. It's a basic battle mode, nothing to say. So I would say the replayability for this game is pretty low. Ah, level design. There aren't that many secrets in the levels, but whew, I like the way they look. There was one secret, actually, now that I think about it. This is off-script, by the way. On the forest level, there was a chain gun hidden in between some rocks. That was cool. Anyways, back to the script. The levels are all linear except for the secondary objective, which adds a little variety. The strangest thing I noticed were locks, or rather the lack of usage. Locks were in the first and second mission, but you never had to get any keys or anything. No keys anywhere. Just bam, shoot them off.
Why are you talking about locks so much? Just move on.
Right. Anyway, the levels were all very linear. Not surprising, as nowhere does it claim to be non-linear. Some of the levels, like the middle in the forest, were very open, however. Lots of room to run around and shoot and dodge, all that fun stuff. Nothing special, no puzzles, no tricks, no weird things on the edge of the skybox. Just from my playthrough, I did not run into any bugs, no weird textures, no annoying parkour. It's really simple level design. But in the case of this game, simple is good. The arena I talked about earlier was well designed. It featured guns and even hearts, but I failed to collect those hearts. I can't really say much about the levels themselves. They were pretty basic. As I said earlier, they were very linear, so it didn't add for much, exploration. But they did look very good, with set decor and a bunch of pieces here and there, some glass things to destroy, some barrels to blow up, stuff you would expect from a shooter. Overall, very decent level design, if I had to say. So I'll talk about the sound design first. The sound design is very nice. No stuttering sounds, no obnoxiously loud groans or cries. The enemies made noises, but from what I recall, there was nothing that, horrified me or disgusted me in a way that, like the Gaping Dragon does in Dark Souls. I have a fear of the Gaping Dragon from Dark Souls, if you can't tell. Anyways, level design was pretty nice. The bosses, they had some cool distinct noises. The deer made some chain noises, but, that's about it. The music itself was very pleasant in most cases. The crypt level had some strange music, but that's okay. All of the music was very bit-toony and did not distract from the intensity of the level. I often found myself kind of vibing with the music. I personally would imagine this game to be a lot older in my head, but that's just because of the style of music. Nothing too special to say about the music or sound design. Second to last category is the story. There isn't a lot. There's very little story, and what story there is, it's incredibly bare bones and simple. Although, that's not really a critical error on the developer's part. I don't think it matters all that much for a game like this. Really, a lot of FPSs don't need story. I mean, sure, some of you are going to disagree with me on that. That's okay. So, as far as I know, you're a guy fighting the dead with a sword. That's all you really need to know to play this game. And you know what? What little story there is, it mainly comes from the mission prompts and the talking between you and your sword. The bosses don't really give any big lore hints or anything. So you know what? There's not much I can say without spoiling the lore, because there is such little lore that I feel like anything is important. The final thing I said I would talk about, the critic ratings, critic quote-unquote. Kingdom of the Dead Steam rating is 82% positive, and the Metacritic rating is 69. Lots of the Metacritic complaints are on bugs and lack of interesting story. While I played, I only ever experienced one bug, so I don't really know what happened there, but I do agree with the rest of the reviews that the story is incredibly minimal and lackluster. The reviews are pretty accurate. I would say, get this game if you want a fun little shooter and aren't interested in lore.
Yeah, no one cares about lore anyway. Except Minecraft story mode lore. That was good.
Last time I got it, it was on sale for about $5, and I think right now it's $15. That concludes it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.